a country with no natural resources, a country whose infrastructure was completely destroyed, a country that land was divided, and a country counted among the poorest in the world. This is the story of South Korea, a story of survival, strategy, and a system. 1910, Korea was no longer Korea. Japan officially annexed it. The Korean language was banned, culture was suppressed, land reform took land away from Korean farmers and gave it to landlords. People were sent into forced labor. Women were turned into comfort women. Yes, industries were set up and factories were built, but one thing is clear that this development is not for Korea. This development is for Japan. 1919 March. People came out on the streets. A movement began, the first movement. Protesters followed by bloodshed, and the result, no freedom, only tight controls.
It is an atomic bomb. It is a harnessing of the basic power of the universe.
In 1945, Japan is defeated and Korea is free. But this is where the real problem begins. The country is divided into two parts. North comes under Soviet Union influence and South comes under United States influence. Between them, an invisible line, the 38th parallel. It was supposed to be temporary, but history made it permanent. North Korea was stable. It has Communist Party and support from local government and even the support from Soviet Union. That's why the military strength started increasing. South Korea was unstable. Japanese officials were temporarily retained and South Korea's public committees were rejected. And what people expected was freedom and what they get is the foreign control. Moscow Conference 1945. An attempt was made to reunify Korea, but it failed. A decision was made, a 5-year trusteeship. North accepted Soviet control and South protested for independence. The USA won free election, but USSR did not want to lose control. The result, nothing happened. Two separate systems began to develop. North Korea was under Kim Il-sung. He did land reforms by taking land from rich and give it to poor. As a result, he got strong support from peasants. South Korea was under the rule of Syngman-rhee, which is the US-backed government. 48. Jeju Uprising. People protested against elections, believing it would permanently divide Korea. Government labeled them as communists and brutally suppressed them. Around 10% of the population was killed in just 1 year. It became one of the darkest chapters in the South Korean history. At the time, North Korea was stronger. Most industries were located in the north, and it claimed, "We are the real Korea." In 1950, the Korean War begins. 25th June, North Korea attacked on South Korea. The real reason was simple. Both sides claimed the entire Korea. Kim Il-sung wanted to unify it. North launches a sudden attack. Seoul was captured in just 3 days. South Korea army collapsed. They advanced up to Busan perimeter. Then the United States entered the war. A risky plan was made. The Incheon landed. North Korea's supply line were cut. Seoul was recaptured. Then China entered the war. Why? Because US forces reached close to the China's border, Yulu River. Again, forces were pushed back and the war froze near the 38th parallel. Now, 1953, the war ends. There is no peace, only a ceasefire. In these 3 years, everything was destroyed. cities ruined, infrastructure gone, billions of lives lost. South Korea became one of the poorest countries in the world. No industry, no infrastructure, food shortages, and dependency upon foreign aids. The government was weak, corruption was high, there was no clear direction. Then 1961, and this is where the story changes. Park Chung-hee comes to the power. Democracy ends, dictatorship begins. Clear plans were introduced. Everything became target based. The strategy was simple but powerful. Export led growth, government support through subsidies and tax benefits. And the major thing is creation of chapels. First focus is on textile, shoe and steel industries. Then heavy industries like shipbuilding. Growth come at a cost. Long working hours, low wages and no labor rights. By the late 1970s and 1980s, cracks start appearing. Inequality, dominance of chaebols, and political repression was very evident. India entered in the Vietnam War as an US ally between 1964 to 1973. 1979, Park Chung-hee is assassinated. A new dictator, Chun Do-hwan, takes the power. Universities were shut down, martial law imposed, and political leaders were arrested. In the 1980s, Gwangju uprising took place. Civilians took control of the city. 27th May 1980, the military launched a full-scale attack using tanks and heavy weapons. Thousands of civilians and officials were killed. The media was blackout. Protesters were labeled as rioters and communists. The rest of South Korea didn't even know what really happened. 1980s, another major shift begins. South Korea transformed its system as a result of financial liberalization. Government loses control and banks come to power. Imports were allowed as a result of trade liberalization. South Korea shifted from steel and ships manufacturing to semiconductors and electronics. Its economy to FDI inflow, became a WTO member and also started entering into trade agreements. And slowly, a vote on aid dependent, unstable country turns into a global industrial powerhouse. So, this is not just a story of growth, story of a system where crisis was turned into control, control into strategy, and strategy into global dominance.